This Sheffield United season preview edition of the Premier League Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by our Patreon. Score exclusive perks, content and contests, including our NFL Win Totals contest with a $1,000 prize. Join today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. We're also brought to you by Parlay Play. Parlay Play is a lead pipe lock-in for parlay and player props. Go to parlayplay.io, use the promo code SGP for a 100% deposit bonus today. Welcome, everybody, to the Premier League Gambling Podcast. My name is Malcolm Bamford, coming to you from Newcastle upon Tyne in the northeast of England. We are continuing our season previews, all 20 teams covered. And today, we're going to have a look at Sheffield United. Joining me for what feels like now, Baz, it's the countdown of the countdown. Sheffield United are one of only 5 teams we've got left to do. We've got 5 days till the start of the Premier League season. Mr. Barry Penaluna, what's happening? You're on mute, Baz.
Oh, I've never done that before. Never.
You've never done that before, debut? What an idiot.
First time, like 90 episodes now, Malcolm. Anyway, I'm doing good. It actually feels like ages since I spoke to you.
It does.
Mainly because we've done 2 or 3 every day for seems like forever. And then we done nothing yesterday because I was down at Wembley for the Community Shield. So yeah, having not spoken to you yesterday, it feels like a while. It was quite refreshing.
It does, yeah. I feel like we're like 6 months, like old friends. We haven't seen each other for a while. Do you think that's how your brain works then? The more you get forced into talking to someone, and then we have one day apart. Tell us about the football then. Remember, Barry's everything that's wrong with modern football in the world, anyone who hasn't caught up. So he was down in London, eating and drinking for free, taking the corporate Yankee dollar. Baz, did you have fun?
I had fun.
Yeah.
In terms of, it was a good day out. Like, we went down to London early, got the train down, went over to Brick Lane, for the morning, which is what you'd describe as a bit of a multicultural part of London. Had some lovely street food. I had a bit of jollof rice and chicken. That was lovely.
Nice. Sounds good.
I had a couple of beers, and then I had a bagel, salt beef bagel from a Jewish bakery down there. So I tried a bit of everything. So we had a good afternoon, actually, good bit of food, good few beers. And down that way, we were well away from any football fans, which was good. Because the second I got on a tube towards Wembley and got off at Wembley and walked up to Wembley and got into Wembley, I started to really hate Arsenal fans.
Good.
And I think it would have been exactly the same. Don't get me wrong, if it was Man City fans that I was surrounded by, it would have been the same. And I was supposedly in a neutral area, but obviously being in London, it was massively more Arsenal fans than Man City.
What specifically were they doing to get on your tits?
Just singing, nothing, toward, just singing about Arsenal, which is what you'd expect.
That's reasonable.
Arsenal, it's just fans of other clubs. I don't want to hear
the last time you went, Baz, you complained because the Man United fans weren't singing about their club. So, I mean, how do you want it?
When was the last time I went? I cannot remember.
Was it not the Carabao Cup?
I wasn't at the Carabao Cup.
We were not there. No. Oh, well, sorry. Every other Newcastle fan was whinging about Man United fans not singing.
Yeah. So, yeah, as I say, I had a good day, decent seats. Game was okay. Finished stronger than it started. It was a bit of a slow burner. But, yeah, I did feel like sitting watching 2 teams that I don't care for just was a bit of an odd experience with, boos and ahs and cheers and whoops and whistles and everything. That I couldn't care less about. So I sort of, applauded one goal, and then a goal goes in the other end, and I sat there in my seat and applauded that, and it was all a little bit weird. Felt very strange.
That's fair enough. I understand.
But a good day out was had, and yeah, nice day out. Better than sitting at home all day watching it on the telly, I'd say.
Well, the uptick in football's sort of had me demented yesterday because I was watching that game, watching the Community Shield. I had the Newcastle friendly on the dodgy stick. I had the Sunderland game on the laptop. and I'd had a bet in the baseball, so I was cheering on this rookie to strike out some players for the Chicago White Sox. So there was 4 things all going on at the same time while I was trying to knock out the Sunday dinner as well. And I'm just thinking, like, to next weekend we'll have the Premier League, and then a couple of weeks the NFL starts, Baz. It's going to be mayhem. Like, there's absolutely not enough hours in the day. And like I say, we're recording this on Monday, whatever the date is, the 7th or the 8th, maybe the 7th. And obviously the Premier League starts on Friday night. So with the majority, 3/4 of our preview shows are out. So you can go and find all of them wherever you want them. Any Sheffield United fans who've stumbled across this silliness and wondering what it's all about, we put out a couple of shows per week, just looking around the Premier League, making some betting picks on games at the weekend. Everything's streamed on YouTube. You'll find us on Spotify, Apple, Google. Premier League Gambling Podcast is where you'll find all of our stuff, at SGP and Premier on Twitter as well. So today we'll have a little look about Sheffield United season, how we think they'll go, and then we'll cover some fantasy stuff later on as well, if there's any Sheffield United players that we think might go okay. And this is a bit unusual, this one, Baz, in terms of the promoted teams. This is the first club that we haven't had a guest for. So obviously our knowledge on these promoted teams isn't as strong as on the established teams, or the teams that were there last season. And we had a guest for Luton Town. We had a guest for Burnley. But could we find anyone from Sheffield United, Baz? Well, I mean, we've tried everyone. All the Sheffield United fans, everyone.
Is there something in the fact that nobody wants to talk about Sheffield United, even the Sheffield United fans? I don't think they're going into the season with loads of positivity. And as I say, it might just be they don't want to talk to us too about Sheffield United, which is fair enough.
Yeah, I get that.
We did struggle to find anyone who wanted to talk about their club from Sheffield United. So you're left listening to us two talking briefly about your club, I'm afraid.
Wild speculation.
If you want to, if any Sheffield United fans want to give us their thoughts afterwards, then by all means, we're on Twitter, YouTube, comment, all of that. We'll be interested to find out what you think.
So we'll get straight to the numbers. I'll tell you first about our Patreon, which will give you exclusive content to all of the SGP and stuff. The NFL Win Totals contest with the $1,000 first place prizes on there. We've got season-long contests, but also weekly contests just for our patrons. The SGP Stories podcast, ad-free, full of behind-the-scenes stories from SGPN. And the Discord channel, which is just for our patrons too. Only you can prevent corporate gambling. Join our Patreon, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. We've usually started these shows, Baz, with our thoughts on the team that we're covering from a personal point of view. Sheffield United, I haven't got much, like, in terms of quantity, but obviously, we talked about this last year before we went to Wembley. Sheffield United is the scene of my only league victory away in my entire career. I'm a 47-year-old man. I've been to about a gazillion Newcastle away matches. And I've only seen them win away once. I've seen them win at neutral ground, a couple of cup semi-finals. We won in the League Cup at Middlesbrough. But in terms of league action, Sheffield United, Ryan Taylor, massive deflection, horrible 1-0 win, Baz, on a Tuesday night. How many years ago? I've got no idea. 10, maybe more than 10. Me and you met your brother. Your brother was right in the doghouse with his missus, I seem to recall. We had to drop him off somewhere. And I broke the car seat on the way back. I have no idea how that happened. Do you remember that? Like, I got into it. I heard a massive click. And then about 3 or 4 days later, we had to get the seat just knackered and cost about 500 quid to fix that. It wouldn't pass its MOT. But yeah, that's my only experience of watching Newcastle pick up 3 points on the road, Pat.
Yeah, I do have some memories of that, but it was a long time ago. It must be over 10 years ago that we were on that journey. Yeah, not a lot jumps off the page in terms of Newcastle, Sheffield United history. Again, another one who are fairly inoffensive and don't conjure up any emotions with me massively.
Yeah, I mean, they've been around. They were in the Premier League as recently as 2020. Actually, they got promoted, Baz, and finished 9th, if you remember that season.
Yeah.
when they were playing that mad sort of three at the back where everyone just attacked system. Yeah, and they were really good fun. And then COVID season came along, and they were in absolute shambles. That shambolic season, their very first win was against Newcastle, and it was like in the middle of December or something.
I remember that? Yeah, that was the days. Like our approach to that game was absolutely shocking, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was horrible, wasn't it?
We literally went out trying to scrape a 0-0 draw against a team who had not won a game all season. It was absolutely shocking. Like.
First ever goal in the Premier League, Baz, scored by Sheffield United. We were aware of this.
Brian Dean
is the right answer. Well done. Yeah. Brian Dean against Manchester United. Must have been the lunchtime kickoff, I'm guessing, on the first ever Saturday. So there you go for our USA listeners. There's a stat for you. Sheffield United are in the Premier League by virtue of finishing second in the Championship with 91 points. They were kind of in isolation in second there. They were 10 points behind Burnley and 11 points in front of Luton. So there was no one anywhere near them. Quite a comfortable, successful season. The numbers for the Prem to win the league, they're 2,500 to 1. The top four finish is 250 to 1. Same price as the top six finish. Top half, 20 to 1. Bottom half is 1 to 100. To be relegated, they are 4 to 6, minus 150. To stay up, they are 11 to 10. And to finish dead last, they are 11 to 4, plus 275. The handicap gives them a 55-point head start. So, yeah, I mean, trying to find some stats on them was tricky because, there wasn't an awful lot stood out anyway. They were pretty consistent. And then any stats you can pick up, it's going to be really hard to project onto the Premier League because it's a different animal. They won 16 of their 23 home games, 12 of their 23 away games. They only drew 7 games, Baz, out of 46 last year. So you could lay the draw if you were interested. Scored plenty of goals. In 65% of the games, they were good for a first half goal. Scored in both halves, 43% of the time. And 4 or more goals in their matches, 39% of the time. They would all be great angles last season. But what you're going to do you know what I mean? It's a different thing. Are they going to score in 65% in the first half? I'm not sure they are. So, Paul Heckinbottom is the manager. I've got real feelings either way about him. He had a spell at Leeds, which didn't go very well. He had a spell at Hibs, which didn't go very well. But then he seems to have found himself a home here at Sheffield United, and certainly in parts got the club behind him. But there's still a lot of Sheffield United are a club who spent a lot of money the last time they're in the Premier League, and it's still kind of haunting them. They don't have an awful lot of money to spend at all. Due to their last fit. I mean, there's been talk of like a £20 million budget here, and I think their sole aim is to survive, which there's nothing wrong with that. That's a lot of promoted teams have that as their sole aim. They lost Iliman and Dye, who was their talisman goal scorer. Marseille have taken him away. That was his boyhood club. Got no issue with that. Sander Berge is a key man. Norwegian international, does okay. I think, was he in the team last time they were around? Or I think
but he's been Burnley today. Have you seen that?
Really? Oh,
yeah, dear. So I wrote down Burge as a key player. Today there's talk of a 20 million bid from Burnley. So there's a potential. That seems to be gathering pace, that. So yeah, Sander Berge, if he needs to go, would be a right blow, I think. I think it'd be a massive... He was linked with Newcastle at one point last season, I think, wasn't he?
Was he? I don't know.
Yeah, we were linked with that. To be fair, Newcastle been linked with almost everyone. But yeah, Fabrizio Romano, who's obviously the transfer guru these days.
Oh, here we go, Baz. That's what he says, isn't
it? Yeah. He said Burnley are closing in on a deal to sign Sander Berge. Verbal agreement almost complete between the clubs. Medical could take place today.
As he said, here we go.
So he hasn't said here we go yet.
Yeah, well, it's
quite far advanced.
Not buying it until I see that.
Actually, I'm looking here. The fees close at around 12 million, they reckon.
Interesting. I mean, Sheffield United fans do seem we spoke to the Burnley fans who were dead excited. We spoke to the Luton fans who were dead excited. The Sheffield United fans don't seem very excited, Baz. And it's little things like this, the selling of Ndiaye, now Burge. There's a little disconnect between themselves and the owner. So the owner came out, and fair play when we did an interview last week with one of the Sheffield United outlets, but it just doesn't really bode very well for them at all. There's so many red flags when you look at them. They've got a couple of good players that I like. The two players I picked out for FPL, so I'll come on to them in a little while. But yeah, they're just in trouble. They've had a poor pre-season as well. So yeah, I can see it being a bit of a slog for the Blades this time round. What your general thoughts and feelings, Baz?
Yeah, so as you say, the general mood that you get from social media and things, that fans aren't particularly excited about it at this point. Obviously concerned about the lack of transfer activity. But I think much more of a concern is those departures. As I said, Ndiaye was a massive one for them. They were really hopeful, I think, that he was going to sign a new contract, a longer-term contract, and stay with them this year. He's a big miss. He scored 15 last season, 11 assists for them. Big key player. So to lose him, and I think it came out the blue, so it's not like there was a succession plan and somebody else is lined up. They weren't expecting to lose him, and it seemed to happen out of nowhere. If Burge goes, I think he will be a big miss as well. He scored another 7 goals, but has been a key player for them for quite a while. So 22 goals between those two players. And then you look at who's come in. So far, they've brought in Austin Trusty from Arsenal for around 5 million. Bernie,
I think he's an American man, Baz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Traore from Hacken for 4 million. They've got a left back, Larucci, and Slimani, a central midfielder, has come in for a couple of million. So they've spent about 10 million so far. Obviously, they brought in about 20 million for Ndiaye. They might bring in a bit for Burge. It'll be interesting to see if they've got a plan to spend any of that and sort of top up the squad somewhere. Because if they don't, I think they're sleepwalking towards relegation.
Does seem a bit of a waste, doesn't it? If you can use all that effort to get into the Premier League to really not have a go at it. Because we think Burnley will do okay and we know what their intentions are. Luton, we kind of know what their intentions are, and as much as it's going to be in trouble, they're definitely going to have an identity, and there's a swelling of support for them, from the kind of the fairy tale point of view, but also the fact that they're bringing something a little bit different to the Premier League. It's going to be a tough place to go to. I mean, Sheffield United are a famous old club. That is traditionally a famous old ground to go to. It's a good visit, but there's just you want a little bit of enthusiasm or something. You want there's no kind of joie de vivre about the club at the moment. So it's going to be tricky. Did you manage to make any bets, Baz? Because, like I say, it's hard to find anything positive, but trying to turn all of this information into a little pick is what we're here for. So what have you got?
Yeah, I mean, I'm afraid I can't find much positives for Sheffield United. Of course, I could get some activity done in the coming weeks, but as it stands, I was low on Sheffield United anyway. And with the loss of Ndiaye and possibly Burge, I think they are in real trouble. So I'm sorry if any Sheffield United fans have joined us and hoping for any crumbs of comfort. I haven't got any. I've got them rock bottom, 9-4 to finish bottom of the division.
I've got 11-4 here, Baz.
11-4. Well, I'll shop around because I'll take that. I mean, I looked at them to finish below Luton, and it's only evens for them to finish below Luton.
Yeah,
to finish below Luton, there's every chance they're bottom of the league. Although we've both said we think Luton might make a bit more of a fight of it. But I think if you're getting 11-4 for them bottom of the league at this stage, it's worth a punt, isn't it? I mean, the one comfort for Sheffield United fans is that I'm often wrong and you're often wrong.
Oh, right.
And we could definitely be wrong. Although I wasn't often wrong at the weekend, Malcolm. I just want to
you would. You were very often. You were very often spectacularly correct, Baz.
Unbelievable form at the weekend, but we'll cover that on another show, I'm sure.
Stop living in the past, Baz. Do you think
before you jump on, if I was to try and be positive, then I don't know. You might look. Have you looked at the scorers? The scorers betting.
There isn't what I could on Sky Bet. There was no one. They couldn't even be asked. They couldn't find any. They've got everyone. Oh, have they? Go on, then. Who've you got?
The top scorer at evens.
Hell. There you go. That tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
Ollie McBurney. Like, oh my God.
The thing is, I can't see where else the goals are coming from if they don't sign anyone else. So he scored 15, I think, last year. Just having a quick look. Yeah, McBurney, 15 goals last year. He's evens to be their top scorer. They've signed Bernie Traore from Hacken. He's 6-4. He scored 12 in 14 games last season for Hacken in the Swedish league. He's a 20-year-old lad. It's a massive step up coming in from the Swedish league to the Premier League and trying to lead the line for a team who are up against it. So I'd be worried taking him at 6-4. McBurney could hit 6 or 7 goals this season and potentially be their top scorer, couldn't he? So yeah, it's not what I'm backing, but I can't see who else but McBurney as it stands.
Yeah. I wouldn't be getting involved in any of that. Like I say, that's a huge indication of what's going on here. So I've just remembered 92 winning pick, Baz, actually. My pick, my single pick, is the same as yours. I couldn't think of anything else. I couldn't get away from it. To finish bottom at 11-4, they are plus 275. But, Baz, if you hark back to the Manchester City show, I gave out the winner bottom double, the little parlay, which is Manchester City to win the league and Sheffield United to finish bottom. And that's 9-2. That's plus 450. So that's all right. That's quite a fancy price. Do you think, Baz, that somewhere in the recesses of our brain, we have picked Burnley and Luton to go okay because we had those guests on and we didn't want to be mean to them? And because there's no Sheffield United fans here, we don't give a fuck. And we're just happy.
We feel we can be a bit braver. I don't think so. I'd put my league table out a while ago. I'd sort of wrote it down. And if we'd had a guest today, I'm confident I would have made the same pick. It would have genuinely been good to have a Sheffield United guest on. I would be really intrigued to see how they're feeling going into the season. As I say, you can get a general feel for the mood from social media and things. But yeah, it's a shame we couldn't get someone on for that one.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so there you go, Sheffield United fans. At least if you get relegated and finish bottom, you can go and have a nice slap-up meal or something if you've had 20 quid on it, 9-2. Fill your boots. I'm going to tell you about we've got a new sponsor, Baz.
Yes.
It's quite tricky to say, though. Did you notice us stumbling over it at the start? This is incredible. Every word starts with P. We're brought to you by Parlay Play. Parlay Play is a great way to get down on your favourite parlayed player props. Football season is right around the corner, and Parlay Play will have all of your favourite props. Parlay Play is available in a ton of states, including California and Texas. Plus, our good friends up north, Parlay Play is available a bunch of provinces in Canada. So, if you sign up with our code, you'll get a sweet bonus to get started. The parlay play I like, Baz, it says here, insert a player you like in brackets. Man United, Sheffield United, top and bottom, that's a parlay. 92, plus 450.
Man City.
Yes, not Man United.
Not Man United.
Not Man United. Did you see, I'll do this advert first before they disappear off after one day of sponsoring the show. Head over to parlayplay.io, use the promo code SGP for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. That's parlayplay.io, promo code SGP. Did you see Marcus Rashford's goal on Saturday?
I'm not sure.
Well, you are. You don't need to see it because you've already seen it. What do you think happened, Baz, if you were going to have a guess?
Off his knee. Off his shin.
No, he gets at the inside right position. He has a shot. It hits the sliding defender on the bottom of the leg, into the ground, up over the goalkeeper. Every goal he's ever scored. I've put him into my fantasy team, Baz, just to stop him scoring. That just dawned on us. When I saw that, I thought, this will fucking do him in. So I put him in my fantasy team out of sheer bloody mindedness. So that should be the end of him, which is good. Speaking of fantasy leagues, Baz, Sheffield United. As you might have gathered from the first 25 minutes, this is going to be quite a tricky reach. However, as we've said about all of the lower end of the table, I'm still being polite. 11 people are going to play for Sheffield United every week. Some of them are going to score some points. Do you know which ones? Actually, I'll give the listener league code out first, Baz. Any Sheffield United fans who want to get involved and repay us for our lack of faith by beating us in the Fantasy League, get involved. We've got some money for you, 150 quid in cash. We got some merch. Baz was merched up at Wembley yesterday, looking good. We've got the Egg in a Cup Cup. The code, if you want to game, is CVVQAB. That is Koulibaly, Varady, Quinn, Allison, Beattie. Some players in there. Imre Varady, do you remember him, Baz? Used to be my favourite when he played for Newcastle. You can have any Quinn you like. You can have Alan Quinn. You can have Stephen Quinn. Any of the Quinns. Wayne Quinn, yeah. If a team hasn't had a Quinn playing for them, I mean, really struggling to get the queues out. Wayne Allison, another Wayne. It's all called Wayne. James Beattie. Yeah. CVVQAB. Baz, who might get in your team?
It's a struggle. I mean, first thoughts, nothing I like at all in amongst this lot. But as you said, that there will be players who might emerge. I mean, we'd have thought last time they were in the league that there was nobody. But I remember John Lundstrom became a must-have.
Oh, that's who I was trying to think of before when you said Sander Burge. Yeah.
He's a bit of an FPL legend in a way, sort of.
Yeah, definitely.
An absolute must-have. He was in everybody's team because he was a 4 million defender, playing in an attacking midfield role, getting goals, getting assists. And by the end of the season, everybody. And it was that season where you say Sheffield United went well, so there was clean sheets going on. I had an absolute nightmare with John Lundstrom because he was a 4 million defender. Where do you put him? You put him on your bench and you don't start him. And every week he's hitting 10s and 12s and 15 points. And every week he's sitting on my bench.
He was great.
And then the weeks I'd bring him in, I just couldn't get him right. Is another one I couldn't get right. Reece James is always that way with Chelsea. Can't get him right either. But yeah, John Lundstrom was absolute points galore that year, and I got very few of them despite owning him all season because I kept leaving him on my bench.
He's still banging them in for Rangers, isn't he, John Lundstrom?
That's right.
He is. Yeah. We need a new feature on the show, Baz. I've thought about this a few times. Is players who are definitely going to end up at Celtic or Rangers. There's certain players who are just so obviously cut out for that shambles. Lundstrom was a good one. Todd Cantwell, who's currently playing for Rangers, is another one. It was just we'll make a little list of those as the season goes on. Also, I was today years old when I found out Lauren James was Reece James's sister. I didn't know that. I don't know how. Well, if you think about it now, they look identical. It was kind of obvious, really. I mentioned it to the kids before, and both kids looked at me and were like, duh. So, yeah, there you go.
I mean, there's an advert on TV with them both as well, every day.
Oh, of course, yeah. I did think about all those advertisers. She's on every advert on the telly at the minute. And then she disgraced herself today. So, do you reckon they pulled her from that? She's a proper David Beckham moment, wasn't it?
Oh, it was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, she was having such a good tournament. If England go far into it, should have been, in the hunt for sort of player of the tournament. I mean, potentially in the hunt for top goal scorer and things like that. Still, actually, have got some today. But I don't know what she was thinking. Stupidness.
Our ability to get sidetracked, Baz. This is boding well for when we start the live shows, for the pick shows for the start of the season, because I can't even remember what we talked about now. Fantasy this started with John Lundstrom.
Let's go back to fantasy football.
I don't even know what. Yeah, go on then. Say some stuff.
Defensively, the go-to in these sort of teams is you look for the wing backs, see who might get forward and get involved a bit more. So Baldock was the first one, £4 million defender. He's an option to stick on your bench, I suppose. But he did only have 1 goal and 3 assists last season, so there's not bags of attacking returns. Ahmed Odzic, maybe worth the extra 4.5 million. He's a centre-half for them, but scored 6 last season. But I think once you get to the 4.5 million defenders, there's better options around with better clean sheet potential. I mean, Botman's in my team at the minute for 4.5 million. I think I'd rather have Sven Botman in there with more opportunities for clean sheets. Still getting up for set pieces, but he doesn't play for Sheffield United. I was going to tip Sander Burge as a possibility until I heard he might be on the move to Burnley. He got 6 goals. I think that must be 6 league goals. I think he got 7 in total. 6 goals and 5 assists last season. He's only 5 million. If he moves on, the attacking options are slim. Oliver Norwood should be on set pieces, but realistically, he's not going to be making my squad. So I think it's very much a watching brief for Sheffield United players, I'm afraid, at this point. As you say, someone might come out of the woodwork, just like Lundstrom did those years ago. So we'll keep an eye on them. But yeah, I'm afraid there's nothing more I can add in terms of FPL and Sheffield United.
Oh yeah, Baz, you had the exact same two names that I had down, which was Amadodzic, 4.5 million. But like you say, Botman or Amadodzic, it's a no-brainer. But George Baldock, I think, has got potential. 4 million. I think he's going to start. He plays with a little bit of adventure down the wing. And if Sheffield United start the season quite well and prove themselves to be competitive, possibly competitive at home, 4 million starter on the bench is meat and drink. Like we talked about the lad from Burnley when they were on Bayer. What's his name?
Yeah, Bayer.
Is he a Max?
The Beckenbauer.
Yeah, Jordan Beckenbauer. Bayer, same principle, 4 million on the bench. 4 million starting defender. So exactly the same with Baldock. So I agree with that. And I think, Baz, that's me covered on Sheffield United. Anything else to say?
No. I think I did, but then I don't. I don't know.
Oh,
I'm sure I had other stuff to add, but I can't remember at the moment. So I think that's we're done. We've done a half an hour, Malcolm, on Sheffield United, which is quite an achievement. Although we did get sidetracked and talk.
I was going to say about 15 minutes of it was on other stuff.
Yeah.
If there are any Sheffield United fans who've endured it to this point, I promise you one thing, right? At one point this season, Sheffield United are going to be away on a Monday night. They're going to be 12-1, and I'm going to tip them to win, and they're going to smash over the line. They're going to mangle a 1-0 somewhere, like in early February, or 1-0 at Liverpool or something like that. And we'll be on them at 12-1, and we'll all have a disco. So you need to stay tuned for that occasion. Otherwise, you're not going to get the good stuff. So if you have listened, like I say, go and like, rate, review, and come back, and we'll have some general weekly silliness and pick some winners as well. Baz was absolutely on fire this week in the Football League slate of games. So with that as a warm up in the Premier League show on Wednesday, it bodes well that we're gonna hit the ground running. Cheers, Baz. Nearly done. Four more shows to do, son, and then we can go and spend some time with our families for a bit.
Yeah, and then get into the normal routine of back to our bread and butter.
All of that, bread and butter. Thanks everyone for listening. We appreciate it. Good at we, I bet. Go and listen to everything else. We'll see you down the road. Cheers.